I wrote this song as a part of, at some point along the way that I was writing the whole project, which is called Black Rock. And it was a real distinct shift into making music that was a bit more indie focused, a little bit more sonic hat tips to something that kind of got me into music in the first place, which was indie and rock music. So I think by the time I was writing The Ultimate Tourist, I was like, I want something on this project that is catchy, feels like it's always coming to a crescendo, and is short. I really wanted to make a short piece that was just like felt like gold. So I think with this song, I sat down in front of my desk, which is in my bedroom, had my electric guitar, and was just kind of like messing around with these chords. And I was just like, sometimes the chorus is the first thing that comes to me, and when it is, I'm kind of set, because if I feel something's really catchy, I'm like, okay, I've got it. The first notes I started playing, when I settled on that chord sequence, that was like the first melody that came to my head. I laid it down and I was like, this is cool, but it's quite a generic chord sequence. So how do I make this into something that's interesting? So I put that down, and then I was like, okay, first thing I want to have these two egos. Because I'm not actually super into star signs, really. I was just like, this is just kind of a funny way to frame this. But when I see my star sign, I'm like, okay, that is actually what I'm like by coincidence, I must state. But I decided to have these two voices, one of which was pitched up and one of which was my normal voice, to have this kind of dichotomy of rage between myself and another part of myself. But yeah, I just decided to kind of add in a bunch of synths and let it build and swell, so it felt like, even though the chord sequence was quite something you probably have heard before, the way the soundscape builds feels like there's this real weird mounting tension.
Yeah,
that was kind of important to me.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like the song, it closes with the open.
Yeah.
And was that always intentional right from the get-go? Like, that once you got that melody, that this was going to be, okay, I'm going to bring that straight back at the end, almost, that you can loop this track, because that crescendo makes you want to do that each time.
Yeah.
And bring you back to the beginning of it.
It actually wasn't. The first version of the song I wrote was 59 seconds long. A part of me actually was leaning into the fact that, like, I'm aware that music is getting shorter, and I was like, how about I just test this out? See how people listen to something that is a short snippet that you're like, oh, I wish that was longer. I'm going to listen to it again. So I wrote it to be 59 seconds. It was just the hook at the start, and it built to about halfway through the verse. And I sent it to my management, and they were like, this is amazing, but this is too short. 59 seconds is just a bit too short. So I wanted to keep it short, but I developed the song after that point. So it gave me a lot of scope to keep building. But also I was like, I want to release. If I'm going to make this song any longer, I want it to have a point where it kind of resolves and feels like you can kind of loop back to the start.